Suikoden 2 is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. Like, this is my original copy from when this game first came out. Yes, complete in box, I still got the registration card and everything like that. One of my absolute favorite games of all time. And the Suikoden series to me is just great. I know some people say Suikoden, some people say Suikoden. I'm just gonna say Suikoden because that's just how I've always said it. But absolute favorite series. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've also got Tactics. I've also got Tierkris, which came on the DS, and that was an interesting. I can't really say that was Suikoden, but it is what it is, right? So I love the franchise. I love the guy who created it. R.I.P. to him. You know, he passed before the game came out. But then when I heard years ago that they were making, you know, the original creator was going to make a new series, kind of the spiritual successor to Suikoden, called Eiyuden Chronicles, 100 Heroes. I was like, I'm all on board. And I played and reviewed Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, which was kind of like a companion title. You don't really have to go and play that to understand 100 Heroes, but it helps give like a little backstory and does a little world building. But when Eiyuden Chronicle finally came out, and I have my physical copy here for PlayStation 5. I've also got a Switch copy coming in. I'm at this point where if I get a review code for a game, I'm gonna also buy a physical copy to support the devs. And because I know like these type of games are becoming super rare. I mean, look at Star Ocean Second Story R, right? You can't even find it anywhere anymore. It's, if you love a game, physically buy it. So I bought a PlayStation 5 as well as a Nintendo Switch copy of the game. And with this review, I'm also reviewing the Switch, PlayStation 5, and PC copy. I originally got a PC code courtesy of 505 Games and Green Man Gaming. Shout out to them if you want to pick up the game. Link will be in the description down below. And I'm pretty much cross-comparing all the different versions and talking about my thoughts on this series as a longtime fan, a 20-plus year fan of Suikoden, as well as someone who is going into this respecting the roots of what the creator wanted to touch on again, but also seeing the evolution of where he's going with it. So we're going to talk about Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes in this review. And without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Okay, so to completely review this accurately, it's essential for me, again, to touch on this again and disclose my deep affinity for the Suikoden series, which significantly colors my expectations and experiences with Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. Having engaged with every Suikoden title, you know, except, well, kind of, not really, but to an extent, you know, I've dabbled with the PSP exclusive Japan only game. You know, I have honestly a profound appreciation for the series, especially for landmark entries such as Suikoden 2 and 5. Given this context, Eiyuden Chronicle's Kickstarter origins and its thematic and mechanical aspirations inherently resonated with me as they seemingly target the nostalgic core of Suikoden enthusiasts, which that's what I am. Approaching Eiyuden Chronicle, I harbored some concerns that it might merely replicate, you know, Suikoden in a superficial and uninspired manner, particularly given the limited budget typical of many Kickstarter projects. Rabbit and Bear Studios, though, a fledgling developer, embarked on this venture amid a landscape where many crowdfunded games failed to deliver on their promises. Compounding these concerns were early promotional materials which spotlighted a central conflict between characters Noah and Sane, prompting fears of a narrative rehash of Suikoden 2's well-trodden path of Joey in the main character. Despite these initial reservations, Eiyuden Chronicle establishes its own identity fairly early in the game, and while it retains clear influences from Suikoden, observable in combat mechanics and other gameplay mechanics, it manages to diverge in its narrative and character dynamics. The game unfurls as a robust JRPG adventure with the potential playtime exceeding that of 50 hours if one delves into all aspects of character recruitment, base building, and its array of minigames. It's an experience that feels simultaneously retro and contemporary, blending traditional JRPG elements with modern design sensibilities. The setting of Eiyuden Chronicle is a world divided between the Gallian Empire and a coalition known as the League of Nations. The storyline commences with protagonist Noah joining a group of mercenaries tasked with uncovering the secrets of the Primal Lens, a powerful artifact that's coveted for its immense energy. This mission sets off a series of events that eventually see Noah leading a burgeoning resistance movement. A hallmark of both the Eiyuden Chronicle and its spiritual predecessors is the extensive character recruitment system. With over 100 potential allies, of which around 70 can participate in combat, the game offers a sprawling cast for players to explore. The combat itself is a traditional turn-based system where players arrange teams of 6 across 2 rows. The vast array of characters, each with unique abilities and tactical advantages, introduces a rich layer of strategy, although it occasionally comes at the cost of character depth, with many characters feeling underdeveloped beyond their functional role in battle. The game also incorporates a rune lens system, which is reminiscent of Suikoden's rune mechanics, allowing for detailed customization of characters' abilities and stats. This system enriches the strategic depth of forming combat teams, and even though the game's difficulty on normal settings often leans towards the easier side, there are more challenging modes that are available, but they are locked from the start. Now, let's talk about town building, as that's another feature that's borrowed from Suikoden, which enables players to develop their headquarters as they recruit more characters. This mechanic unlocks new functionalities, shops, and minigames, contributing to the game's depth. However, this aspect can sometimes feel like a mandatory expansion task rather than an integral part of the game's narrative or strategic components. The variety of minigames in the Eiyuden Chronicle, which includes activities like racing and cooking competitions, adds to the game's diversity, but lacks significant depth, often resembling brief and simple distractions rather than fully fleshed out components. The game's control scheme, particularly on PC, is somewhat cumbersome and non-intuitive without the option of key rebinding, presenting an unnecessary barrier to accessibility and enjoyment. Which is why, as I played this, I usually use a controller on PC, and although I've also played it on gaming handhelds like the ROG Ally, Steam Deck, and Lenovo Legion Go, and it works perfectly with those controls. But with keyboard and mouse, it's really unintuitive. As the narrative progresses, the game's strengths in visual and auditory presentation become increasingly evident. The art style, featuring vibrant sprites and animations, evokes a strong sense of nostalgia while maintaining a fresh aesthetic appeal. The soundtrack, composed by notable figures like Matoi Sakuraba and Michiko Noruke, enhances the atmospheric depth of the game. The voice acting is kind of where there's a bit of a variable, as there's a mix of very strong performances and oddly some very weak performances as well. But overall, the auditory experience supports the game's expansive narrative. And despite its rich storytelling and engaging mechanics, Eiyuden Chronicles sometimes struggles to deliver the emotional impact of its Suikoden predecessors, with some plot elements feeling scattered or secondary to gameplay mechanics. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how this game runs on the Nintendo Switch, as the technical performance on the Nintendo Switch is notably poor, with significant frame rate issues and lengthy loading times that detract from the gameplay experience. I don't know why this game has launched on the Nintendo Switch in such a poor shape. I mean, granted, Rising didn't run that great either, and that came out years ago, blocked at 30 frames per second, where it's like 60 frames on everything else. And it's not a very resource intensive game, but maybe it's just because the developers weren't used to the architecture of the Switch. But it's really bad when you put that in comparison to games like Star Ocean, The Second Story R, First Departure R, and even the games like Octopath Traveler. Those games run really well on Nintendo Switch, whereas this doesn't run that great. And the developers have addressed it and said they're going to push out patches which will fix the performance on the Switch. But why release this in such a broken state on the Switch, which is probably going to be where the bulk of your sales is going to come from? I don't know. I don't get it. But, I'm not the developer, so I can't really speak on that. In wrapping everything up, though, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes offers a substantial and heartfelt homage to the Suikoden series. Crafted with both reverence and an innovative ambition, while it excels in many areas, including presentation and gameplay, it also faces shortcomings in performance on the Switch, as I mentioned earlier, and its narrative has some cohesion issues. All that being said, though, if you're going to play this on any platform, I highly recommend you play it on PC or you play it on PlayStation or Xbox. And honestly, if you get it on PC, get it from Green Man Gaming, because You know, they gave me a review copy, and you can get a really good discount on the game there. Use the link down in the description down below. But all that being said, though, for fans of JRPGs, and particularly for those with a penchant for Suikoden, Eiyuden Chronicle remains a commendable endeavor, albeit one that might benefit from waiting for potential improvements and post-launch updates if you do intend to buy it on the Nintendo Switch. But if you're going to get it on PC or PlayStation 4 or 5 or Xbox Series, hey, you can't go wrong with it at all. It runs perfectly fine. And while there may be some localization issues, and that's a whole nother topic, the game, if you're a fan of Suikoden like I am, especially if you love Suikoden 2, this is a game that you definitely want to pick up. I mean, yes, pick this up, but also pick up Eiyuden Chronicle as well. So with that being said, I'm going to give Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes a 4 out of 5. And that wraps up the review of Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. What do you guys think of this game? Have you picked it up? What platform are you playing it on? Are you enjoying your time with it? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section down below. And again, I want to give a special thank you to Green Man Gaming and 505 Games for providing me a review copy of the game for PC, and, you know, my own wallet for letting me buy it on Nintendo Switch as well as PlayStation 5. If you want to pick up this game, I'll leave links in the description down below. It's specifically for Green Man Gaming, so you can pick it up there. You know, no additional cost to you. You get a discount, and it helps out the channel. And also, if you want to pick up a physical copy of it, I'll pin it to the YouTube channel, or to the YouTube video rather, and you can just buy it from your favorite retailer. But all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe, be blessed, have aloha, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, and a hui ho.